Welcome to Veteran State of Mind. I'm your host, Geraint Jones. Guys, if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Thanks for coming along. And if you've been here before, good to have you back. Thanks for spreading the word about the podcast. Thanks for making posts. Thanks for telling your friends. Thanks for helping us grow. Please keep doing that, guys. If you enjoy today's podcast, we don't charge. We're not behind a paywall or anything like that. So if you do like what you hear here, please tell a friend, bring them along, and let's keep the podcast growing and get the message out to as many people as possible. Just want to go through a bit of admin before we get into the podcast. I do have a fantastic guest for you today, as ever. I would appreciate if you listen to this part of the show, because without it, there is no show. So, today's podcast is made possible, as ever, thanks to the Royal British Legion, the UK's biggest and best veteran charity. They do so much for so many people, including making this podcast possible. Please go and follow them on social media so that you can see their regular updates. If you're suffering with any mental health issues, if you know someone who's a veteran or veteran families, and get in touch with the Royal British Legion. Pop the name into Google, just put Royal British Legion into Instagram, anything like that. You'll find them, rbl.org.uk. So go find them on there, guys. Check out the Royal British Legion, and thank you for helping us do what we do. This episode is brought to you in part by Camouflage, spelt with a K. Camouflage is a specialist surveillance and investigations company, a brand you can rely on for their professionalism, integrity, and quality of work at all levels. Not only do they get in amongst it, but Camouflage are stockists of specialized surveillance, outdoor clothing and equipment and more from the likes of Lawmate, Yukon, TRC Outdoors, and Lumine Designs. They also have a series for bespoke handmade ghillie suits and vehicle tracking systems. Check them out at camouflage.co.uk. Remember, that's spelt with a K. Camouflage.co.uk or Camouflage Limited Ltd on Instagram. Check out Zulu Alpha Straps, a veteran-owned and operated company who know how important it is to be in the right place at the right time, and they make bombers watch straps for alley blokes. Check them out, guys. They make absolutely beautiful, beautiful bits of kit. They got lovely photos on their website, on their webpage, which is at Zulu Alpha Straps, one word. Check them out there. They do a lot of stuff with the Sangin instruments, guys. Really beautiful photos, beautiful bits of kit. Check them out at Zulu Alpha Straps. This episode is also brought to you in part by Right Flank. Right Flank is a veteran-owned and operated clothing brand producing gym and active clothing for men and women. With over 20 years of experience, Right Flank bring you tough and well-tested clothing for your most challenging times and tasks. We're all in a challenging time and task right now, aren't we? So what better time to support veteran-owned and operated company? Get some of their kit on, get outside, do some physical activity, work up a sweat. You'll feel a lot better for it. Check them out at Right Flank, that's spelled R-I-T-E, at Right Flank or rightflank.co.uk. Check them out, guys. And last, and I hope not least, today's episode is brought to you by me, Geraint Jones. I got a book coming out on June the 11th, guys, Brothers in Arms, coming out in paperback. Thank you so much for everyone that supported it already in hardback and audiobook. Love you guys for that. As I mentioned already on the podcast, so I won't labour the point, I'd love to get this book in the bestseller list. Why? Because it'll feel great for me, something I've always wanted to do. And also because I think there's a good message in the book. A lot of you agree from the messages that you've been sending me. So if we can get that message out there, I think it can do a lot of good for a lot of people. And the way the books work, guys, is basically once you get on a bestseller list, it has like that snowball effect. So more people will see it because it'll get stocked in more shops. So if it's just in a few shops and on Amazon, not so many people see it. Once you get on the bestseller list, other places start to stock it, and then more people buy it, and then it's like this snowball effect, and more people out there. And I think it can help civilians as well as veterans. So I would really, really appreciate it if you could pre-order that. If you don't have the money, that's fine. I will still love you anyway. All right, into today's podcast. We have a very special guest. I have a lot of respect for this man. If you watch the videos that I assigned you as homework on social media, then you're going to know a little bit about him. But I'll give you a really, really quick spiel. This guy, he's a veteran of the United States Army Rangers. Then he went on to work on the circuit, doing private security work in Iraq during the real Wild West days out there. Seen a lot of shit. He's done a lot of shit. He went on to become a law enforcement officer in the United States. And very recently, he stood up and spoke out against what he sees as unconstitutional actions being taken by police forces. And he wanted to step up and talk about that because This is something I know you guys already have heard from me. We think that this leads down to a very dangerous path, and both he and I are very keen to try and get the message out and stop this before it becomes violence. Unfortunately, I'm recording this on Thursday. We're already seeing riots in Minneapolis because of police overstepping, or should I say, certain police officers overstepping. But the point is that people are getting frustrated, people are getting angry, and this in this episode we really dive into how we can stop it, why it's important to stop it, and how we can all live peacefully, because I think that is what we all want when it boils down to it. All right, guys, without further ado, please welcome Mr. Greg Anderson. So, Greg, welcome to the podcast, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
You have been going through a bit of a crazy time, mate. You're in the eye of a storm, really, as far as this whole kind of COVID thing goes. But I'm glad today we're going to have like a longer chance to talk because, seeing this, I saw you first came to my attention through Andy Frisella. He shared it, and Andy and I talk a lot about this kind of stuff, these free rides. He's been very good in like standing up and talking about that stuff, and I couldn't believe it. And I reached out to you when you first made the video. I like the first video that you made about coming on, and then a lot's happened since then. But first, I'd like to go in and talk about your service because it's one of those things that it's like just like a little snippet you hear, Army Ranger, and a lot of people kind of discount how much that informs your opinions later on in life. But I think it's it's huge. What you see in your service is huge, but also what you get taught in terms of your core beliefs, your discipline, things like integrity and all that kind of stuff. So do you want to just like talk us through what got you into the military in the first place?
So it's actually pretty interesting. I joined the military in 1999, so a couple years before 9/11, right? And I joined the military for the same reasons that a lot of young men join the military. It wasn't this like patriotic calling or this core belief in American values. It was being an 18-year-old kid with no clear future and just trying to figure out a path, And so I went and talked to some different recruiters, and for whatever reason, I was like, you know what? I'm going to either go with the Navy SEALs or the Army Rangers. I figured if I'm going to go in, I might as well go in and try and challenge myself as much as I can in that 4-year period of time.
Sorry, man. Were you an athlete in school then? Were you like, was that like part of the background, like an athletic background in school?
You know what's funny is I wrestled and did track all through middle school and my freshman year, and then I became interested in partying and girls, and I let
They've
athletics.
Derailed many an athletic career there.
And it's funny you bring that up, man, because to this day I regret that, because I can tell you from experience, the guys that go into the special operations community as good athletes, they're a step ahead of everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I felt myself having to play catch up for a long time before I was able to get to that level. So super important.
I suppose is that like if you've been doing a college wrestling program or a college football program, there's a certain amount of discipline, like turning up on time, going through, daily, day in, day out grind, the physical activity, and all that kind of stuff. So that I can definitely see how that'd be beneficial. I always think of like a lot of people who join I always think like a lot of us are like athletes who weren't quite good enough to be pro. Uh-huh. And like you get a lot of guys in the military who are like good athletes, but not good enough, to make that top gut. So you settled on the Rangers, and that's part of the Special Operations Forces, right?
Correct. Yeah, it falls under Special Operations Command. So yeah, I went in, and that was my goal, and ended up just going through boot camp, infantry training, airborne school, and then you go through what's called the Ranger Indoctrination Program. And that's a selection to get into the Ranger Regiment. And it's only 3 weeks long, but it's 3 weeks of hell. Right. It's exactly what you see in all the Making the Cut movies. You're out in the rainstorms, carrying logs around and doing hours and hours and hours of physical exercise, no sleep. And it just gives them a 3-week assessment to see if they can break you. That's what it is. And that's what they're looking to get rid of, is people that'll quit. Because if you don't have the quit inside of you, they can train you up on how they want you to be tactically and physically and like mentally capable of conducting missions. They just want to weed out the people that have that quit inside of them. So yeah, I can tell you like an example. One day we were out in the field, it was pouring rain, and each squad was holding a log over our heads. And they said, Rangers, everybody's going to stay in this position with the log over their head until 2 people quit. It can be 3 minutes, it can be 3 hours, it can be 3 days, but you're staying in that field until 2 people quit. And then sure enough, eventually 2 people quit. So they're looking for the people that when going gets tough, they look to ring the bell.
How long did it take for those
it's fun, probably a few hours. It's funny. That's what everybody asks. And I don't remember exactly because I was just like this shaking and
Yeah, it's funny, dude. The whole quitting thing in the military is funny because, I don't know if you ever worked with the SAS or anything, but, quite often there'll be, when guys are going selection for that, guys will just die on the selection phase because they will run themselves into the ground. Like they're like a horse. They'd rather die than quit. And we all know people who have continued going on broken legs and all this kind of stuff. And it's really interesting to know because you can't just say some people maybe are born with it, but yourself when you're in the military, you've got people from like upper class background, working class backgrounds, tough parents, like hippie parents. So I got friends who have got like their parents are literally hippies and they ended up being Green Berets. It's like. You got all these different kinds. It always really interests me where it came from. But the one thing you obviously have to have in common is not quitting.
Exactly. No, it's interesting you say that because, you hear a lot of people say you can't teach heart. That's like a common thing in the military and in athletics. But that's something I disagree with, man. And like you said, we'll get into that later. But I think like getting in touch with yourself through athletics, through meditation, like you develop the ability to resist fear, and through that comes the ability to endure. And I think that is what a lot of people consider heart. I think it's an absolutely trained aspect of who you are.
Yeah. I do think as well, one thing I would like, so like one of the jobs I do is I ghostwrite books and, I do a lot, obviously this podcasting. I talk to a lot of guys and a lot of them are like, high level operators. And one thing that seems to be in common is if you get bullied, you got quite a good chance of ended up being an operator as well because it's like you got the shit kicked out of you as a kid, or just picked on, and then you're like, fuck this, like and it's but that comes out in a really good way though because that comes out in the way then that because it's not like I'm going to then be a bully, it's I'm then going to be a protector.
Exactly.
So
exactly right.
I see quite a lot of that. And I always thought that's pretty interesting. So, what did you enjoy the training then? Was it something that obviously like it sucked? Like sometimes training just sucks. But
yeah.
But like, was there an enjoyable aspect to it?
For sure. I mean, you're learning about so many different aspects of who you are, and then also, what even more importantly in that is how you work within a team of people. Because as you know, the military is all about teamwork. And so from a young age, I got to start to develop that aspect of who I was as a man, and once you go through INDOC, then you go to your platoon, and then that's really where becoming a ranger starts to become a real life thing, and you're in your platoon for about a year, and then they send you to ranger school, which that's the thing that everybody's seen on the Discovery Channel, the 60-day course in the woods where you're starving and being deprived of sleep. And it was interesting. My last day of ranger school. So the last day of ranger school, you put on your parachute, you jump back into Fort Benning, Georgia, you turn your gear in and you graduate. And we were getting ready to jump and the cadre came out, they canceled the mission. They're like, hey, all planes have been grounded by President Bush. There'll be no jump today. Come into the auditorium. We have something to show you. And it was the 9/11 attacks.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So my last day of ranger school.
That's nuts.
It was crazy because we knew at that moment, as soon as we get back to our battalions, we're going to be deploying to war,
Dude, I remember we were on exercise in Holland. I was in the reserves when it happened. So I joined in 2017. I was in the reserves, and we were in Holland on an exercise. I remember it happening there, and I know it's really hard because we have like a lot of young listeners listening to this who have not been alive since 9/11, which is insane to think about. But like just to try and give those guys context, there hadn't been that much going on in the 90s. I mean, for the Rangers, there'd been the Black Hawk Down mission, and there's been Bosnia, which were, horrific tours if you had to go because you were clearing up mass graves and stuff, basically. It was horrible, but there hadn't been a war, as you'd put it, since the Gulf, really.
Yeah.
which not everybody really got to be involved with. And I think I don't know about you, do, but I just remember at the time just thinking, because you don't think like, you don't think small, do you? When that happens in a young soldier, you're like, this is it, World War. Like next week we're going to be on the front line, and it was another fucking 6 years before I got out on deployment. But like like at the time, you're with a young group of men, like that must have been crazy for you.
Yeah, it was, man. Like we were, so 9/11 happened, and then I ended up getting back to my battalion like a week or two later because of all the delays and flights and logistics. And then we deployed early October for the invasion of Afghanistan. So, I mean, it was like, boom, I was going right in. And they sent 3rd Ranger Battalion and an attachment of 2nd Battalion, which was my battalion, to invade Afghanistan and seize an airfield. Like that's a monumental mission for the Ranger history. And literally right before the mission, they said, we've decided that the objective is a battalion-sized objective, and we're going to cut the 2nd Battalion attachments. And so we had to sit and watch 3rd Battalion go invade Afghanistan. And like you said, I didn't get to end up redeploying back to Afghanistan or to the Middle East until like a year later.
Yeah. Now, civilian listeners are going, well, that doesn't sound so bad. You didn't have to jump into things. Like, for someone that wants to be a fucking Ranger, that's like getting to the altar and the fucking bride doesn't turn up.
That's exactly
right. Oh, no,
right.
Worse, she fucks your best friend.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent, dude.
And like a lot of people have a hard time understanding that it's like, dude, it'd be like going to football practice every day and then never playing a game. Like you're trained for that. You want that. And then not only is that something that we wanted, even before 9/11, because that's the Ranger mentality, but after someone fucking attacked our country, let's go.
Oh,
you know?
And right on the heels too.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll tell you, when I first went to my first deployment, the unit I thought I was going to go with was the one that was getting all the action. And I got sent to another unit and I cried. I fucking cried because I was going to this unit where I know I wasn't going to be able to take the action. Like, so people listening, like, if you've been there, you get it. And if you're not that kind of person, then you just... But it's not just, like, you feel like you're not just missing out on a job you want to do, it's you're missing out on your purpose in life.
Yep,
which
exactly
is like,
right.
Like that's a whole different, like your whole entire core. I remember just feeling sick, and like those moments when things like that happen, you feel sick, you feel, it's horrible. It's worse it's worse. I've been cheated on. This is way worse. Like way worse. Yeah. So when did you get out? When did you get out on deployment?
So, or when did I deploy?
Mm-hmm.
So I deployed twice to Afghanistan with 2nd Battalion. That was, let's see, it would have been 2002 and 2003. And I ended up doing about 9 months in Afghanistan over those 2 deployments. And then once I got done with my Ranger enlistment, I went and did State Department contracting in Iraq, which, sweet. Yeah, a lot of people aren't very familiar with what that is, but I saw 10 times the amount of combat as a contractor than I ever saw as a Ranger. It was 04 and 05 in Iraq when it was really kicking off. And they were only hiring from the special operations community at the time. So like as a young Ranger, I was like the baby of the team. And it was, it was a wild time for sure.
So from what I heard about like Iraq was that they were really looking at reinstituting the draft. And that instead of doing that, they took on this, huge amount of contractors. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there more contractors? And by contractors, I don't mean guys feeding you sloppy joes. I mean like there was contractors as in armed mercenaries, basically. Let's call it what it is. Mercenaries. There was more mercenaries in Iraq than there was actual uniformed troops.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers or the percentage, but I can tell you there was tons of contractors. I mean, 04 and 05, that industry blew up. It blew up to the point where young soldiers are like enlisting in the Army, understanding that I'll do my 4 years just so I can start contracting, because they were paying $30K a month. So not only was the mission was fun because it was all the fun aspects of being a soldier without all the red tape and bullshit that we get stuck dealing with.
Is that what paid for the house behind you right now? I see.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of guys have contract houses that got paid for in Iraq.
I'll tell you what though, I wish I was more responsible, Downey. It also paid for new cars and new motorcycles
Yeah.
and a bunch of dumb shit. But that's what happens when you get a bunch of money thrown at you at
Yeah, but
23 years
bro,
old.
if you were responsible, you wouldn't have been driving around Iraq getting shot at.
Yeah.
Like, you know
Well,
what I mean? You'd be
and
accounting
that's the
somewhere.
other side of it. I thought that like after a couple deployments over there, I was like, oh, this is dangerous as shit, dude. So I was of the mindset, yeah, I'll probably get smoked on my next deployment. And that's just a common mentality of young men deploying, because once you come to terms that that's a high likelihood, you're not operating with that fear anymore. You're just comfortable doing your job, and hey, if it happens, it fucking happens. But that causes reckless behavior when you're stateside.
Yeah, I mean, you had to be. Look, you volunteered for a job where you jump out of planes and get shot at. So it's fair to say the reckless gene was already, already in there. And that's why I always say to people, it's like when you're giving rules to, especially infantry soldiers, any job that involves closing with the enemy. Like, you can't expect them to act like, you can't expect people that do that for a living to act within like a certain set of rules that people who don't behave that way exist. I don't think you can have the one without the other.
No, you're exactly right.
Like you're gonna have like if you let these guys loose on a weekend, they're gonna cause absolute carnage. But that's
Yeah.
what you need, because like they need to have that devil may care attitude.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's like you said, that's an absolute, almost a prerequisite to be in the special operations community. It's just be wild at heart. Lots of partying and girls and drinking and fighting, like, because they take that kind of aggression and that kind of wildness and they hone that. And if you can hone that into being a soldier, like, those are some of the best soldiers I've ever worked with, is the wildest guys.
No, I love it, dude, because it's like, yes, the way that you move through a house, it can be very drilled and disciplined. You still need to be willing to walk through a fucking door where someone's got a gun on the other side.
Yep, exactly right.
And like you have to have that. And I mean, it's why so many guys, and one of the reasons why people are still contracted now, it's not the money, because most guys are not on great money now doing contracting.
Yeah, it's shit money now.
Yeah, but you still get, like, there's still that chance of excitement.
Yep.
That exists. No. Maybe it's an IDF attack, but might give you a little tingle. Maybe, it's going through some stacked up neighborhoods and you just windows everywhere, and giving you the tingles. Dude, it's tempting. It's I did some of the ships. I did the ship work for a little while.
Okay.
And I was looking at going then to Iraq, and it was only when I realized the toll that it was taking. Like, again, as a young guy, it's all about you, isn't it? And then you realize, oh, wait a minute, while I'm away on deployment, my mum's not sleeping for 6 months. Like, and you realize that, then you're like, oh God, I suppose it's not all about me, is it? I might have to stay here.
Dude,
but I think sorry.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because like I didn't realize the hell that I had put my parents through until I became a parent,
Yeah.
And it was funny. My last deployment, and that's why it was my last deployment, is my wife. She sent me a messenger on Yahoo Messenger, a picture of a pregnancy test. And she's like, hey, I think it's time to put this behind us. And I was like, yeah, I get it. Now let's do it. So that was 2009. That was my last deployment.
Yeah, dude, one of my best friends right now, he's just moved back to, it's funny, like the village I'm in right now, me and him used to play soldiers around here. And then we both ended up Iraq, Afghanistan, all that shit. And, he was on the circuit, dude, as we call it in the UK, doing the security gigs, and like, he's just moved back now. He's got a couple of kids, and he said, like, the pull is there. It wants to pull him back in. But like, I'm sure the same as you, you've got the kids, but it's not like that. I'm sure that feeling hasn't gone for you though.
Oh, it'll never go away. It's funny too, because I'll get, like, literally just a couple of weeks ago when the incident happened and my command said I'll end up being terminated. I was like, fuck it. You know what? I'll go back to Iraq and I'll fuck. It's like, dude, you're 40 years old now. You don't need to go back to Iraq.
I did it when the lockdown started. I was like, can't lock me down. I'm going to fucking Iraq. I tell you as well, every soldier that kind of, like, quote unquote enjoyed combat has gone, I'm joining the Peshmerga at some point. Everyone said, right. I'm joining the Peshmerga. Dude, like, okay, like, I'll go off a little off topic on here, but like, in the 60s and 70s and shit, they used to just, like, have these mercenary battalions, basically, that used to go and fight these wars in Africa. Uh-huh. And I've always been asking, like, well, why haven't we been using those in the Middle East? Because if I could get paid more money than the army, get first name terms, and be allowed to have this stubble, I'm in.
That's
I'm
right.
in.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fucking give me the gun. I'm back in. Like, as long like if I can wear my own kit, my own boots, you know. And I'm sure I wouldn't be the only one. It's always like interested me. Like, why don't we do that anymore? Which we
Yeah.
do in one sense, the private contracted armies, but we don't really have like, because it used to be that they'd have like literally company sized and bigger units that would do deliberate attacks and that kind of thing.
That's so awesome. That's so
Be
awesome.
fucking dope, wouldn't it? Like, honestly. So anyone out there that wants to if you got a Kickstarter going for that company, I'm in. I will definitely back that company. So mate, like when you wrapped it up on the circuit, then did you go straight into the police force, or how did that transition go?
I mean, it's a natural progression. I mean, a ton of soldiers go into law enforcement when they get out. And to tell you the truth, I don't even know why, because it's different worlds, man. I thought that it would be similar. And I got out, like I said, my last deployment was 2009. And I came home, and then I went to school for 2 years because I got the GI Bill. And I'm like, I'm not letting Uncle Sam keep that. I'm going to use that money. So
okay, let me just, sorry, I can just go jump in and explain to people what the GI Bill is real quick. So actually, you want to explain to them what the GI Bill is for a British listener? Yeah.
So basically, part of your enlistment contract is when you go into the military, it's understood when you get out that the U.S. government will pay for you to go to college. And so not only pay for your school, but they'll also give you like a stipend for living. So, you know, I was making decent money, enough to live off of anyways. Just
it's a sweet deal, man. Sweet deal. What did you do at school?
Exercise physiology.
Sweet. Well, like, yeah, I think that's such a fucking amazing incentive, and like I think fair too. I think if like it's good. It's good to get, like, everyone benefits from education.
Of course,
like it's a net gain all around. I think that's a really great thing. We don't really have any kind of equivalent to that here. They wouldn't pay for me to do a $60 fucking kettlebell course. So it's not quite on the same par. But I think it's great because I think you get these like guys that have gone in, they've had a different experience to the civilian workplace, get them educated, mixing with students. So those people get a different view of life and they're not just mixing with other students. But I think it's a great transition for people coming out of the military because you're not going straight into the workplace.
For sure. Yeah.
You're getting like this, you know, because a lot of my friends, some of my friends, you know, shout out to all the guys I know who are graduating around this kind of time this time of year right now. And it's been great for them because it's a gradual transition in a way, isn't it?
Yep. And then the other side of it is too, like, I know for me personally and a lot of guys that are wired like us, I would have fucking flunked in school had I tried to continue college as a 18, 19-year-old guy. But after 10 years of being in special operations and multiple deployments, like, you develop the discipline to be able to do well in school, which I ended up doing.
I flunked. I was a total absentee. I had enough natural intelligence that I could just, like, at the end of the year, scrape through.
Yeah.
And if you were scraping through, they were like, but when I got called into the office, what I needed was someone to fucking thrash me for 3 hours until I was a pool of fucking blood. But instead, it'd be like, oh, well, I suppose you pass in, out you go.
Yeah.
And I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, somebody grip me, somebody get a hold of me. But yeah, it does. But I think it's such an amazing opportunity to go into education because I would love to have that opportunity back again.
Yeah.
Like, because you appreciate it so much.
And it's weird, man. Like, even though I went through college and I did well, I learned that college is really just kind of a game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's a certain formula that if you adhere to, you'll do well. But in the age of the internet, like, you can become as educated as you want on your own accord. I think college is becoming kind of an archaic thing, but
I agree. I think the mixing with civilian side of it is probably the most beneficial aspect of it. Unless you're going into, obviously, unless you're going, like, one of my friends has just done an MBA at, you know, NYU Stern. He's done his MBA there. Shout out to Seabass. And, you know, he needs that to get a job with Deloitte, and he's going to make good money doing it. And there's that kind of thing. Yep. If you're doing, like, I did history. If you're doing history, bro, fucking, you don't need a fucking professor to tell you fucking anything about history.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, talk like, I had professors who were probably, you know, the absolute Mac Daddy at the one section of history that they know. They don't know anything that I know about the Roman legions and that kind of thing. You know, it's so there is that opportunity. And you know what, man? That's one of the great things about the military that's underestimated is the amount of time you can have for study while you serve it.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's funny you say that because people think like, oh, you're going to Afghanistan, you must just be doing mission after mission after mission. And it's like, dude, my first 3 months, I was filling a QRF billet, which is a quick reaction force. You're literally sitting on the airfield with all your kit surrounding you, waiting for something fucked up to happen so you can go respond and help other soldiers in need. And every once in a while, something happens, but more often than not, you're sitting there reading books and doing push-ups, you know?
Those jobs are fucked up as well because it's like you don't want anyone to get hurt, but at the same time, you kind of want something to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, it's always a tough one when something like that happens. Dude, you know what's funny as well? I was on tour. The amount of times where there's like IDF or, just like a bit of like, not a proper gunfight. And people are sat there reading war memoirs from other people's wars while they're at war. It's like an Inception thing, but it's so funny. Like I literally, like I've done it myself. I have people message me about it now that they're doing it. They're like, "Oh, I'm reading your book. I'm in Afghanistan." I'm like, "That's hilarious." It's just this. It's like we always seem to be more interested in other people's wars than we are in our own.
Yep.
But so like at the police, what you mentioned about the police is interesting as well because I actually had a bit like a billet to begin with the local police force up here after Iraq, and I didn't do it. I told my parents that they'd cancelled the course and I went to Afghanistan instead. And then my mum found out last year, and even though it was like 10 years ago, she still lost her shit. When I went there. And I saw, because I thought the same thing, like, and that's what I find is really interesting. I thought it's going to be like the military. It's going to be the same kind of people. It's going to be the same kind of discipline. It's going to be the same kind of people are going to have the same kind of personal standards. And what actually made me really change my mind about it, besides wanting to go to Afghanistan, was during one of the fitness tests, I was pissed off that I'd even got out my suit because it was so easy to do.
Yeah.
And then a girl, and I'm not singling out girls here, but she was a girl before the internet fucking goes crazy and tries to lynch me. She started crying because she couldn't pull, like they had one of those rowing machines. She couldn't pull the weight. She burst into tears and she gets comforted for 5 minutes before they try and help her through it. I'm like, I don't want to fucking work with her.
Nope.
And that's kind of what that was kind of what made the decision. What was your initial impressions like when you got to the police?
Well, and it was, so I went with a federal agency first off.
Right.
And so, and it was the same thing, man. They had different standards for the girls than they had the guys, even though the mission was the same. And then you would see like all of these people failing the standards that they had set for us. And then I was expecting it to be like Ranger selection. Like I got in the best shape of my fucking life before I went to the academy. Cause I was like, dude, if I fall out of a run, that's it, dude. And now I got kids to feed. This is important. And then I watch people fall out of runs every morning, right and left. And like falling out of a run, it's more mental than anything. So you got people just quitting right and left. And guess what? They're back in the classroom at 09. And they're on the PT field the next morning, falling out again. And so I realized really quickly, I was like, oh man, the standard that I thought would be set is not going to be. It's going to be a very different thing. And even though I'm not even trying to be disparaging against those people. Like a lot of the people that I worked with, they were nice people. Like I enjoyed the camaraderie with them. But as far as wanting to kick a door with them and engage an enemy with them, that's not the person I want to do it with.
And I think it's fair to say as well that we're not saying by any means that fitness is the only trait that matters for a law enforcement officer. Of course not. We're not saying that. Not. Dude, this is the thing. You have to put a caveat on everything now. But the fact is that there is a physical element. But I think as well, fitness is just so illustrative of your state of mind and of your attitude. So it's like, you've been going to get this job where you're going to be required to maybe drag someone 100 yards to save their life.
Yep.
Maybe jump into a fucking river to save someone. And you can't keep up on a run. That just says to me that it's the window into who that person is.
No, you're absolutely right. And I talk about this a lot because especially with the federal hiring process, it was 1 year. It was literally 1 year. I mean,
from application
to starting the academy, right? Because it's background check after background check and lie detector and drug test and just on and on and on. And it's the government. So everything moves like pond water, And So when we got there and I saw dudes that were out of shape, I'm like, this is a goal that you've been chasing for 1 year. And on the day you show up, you look like shit. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't do. I got like, I'll put my hand up and say that when I was in the States recently, I went a bit hard on the Uber Eats, and I went a bit hard on the booze. And by booze, I mean White Claw. I went up to 207, which is the heaviest I've been. I've been back for a month. I'm down to 195. Like, I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm saying I managed to lose 12 pounds in a month, and I'm not fucking dieting. I'm training every day, and I'm not training for a job. I fucking sit on my ass and write books. It's not like, if your goal is to be a police officer or a law enforcement officer, get off your fucking ass and go train.
That's right, man.
It's insane. It's
nuts. And I always tell people this, like, I try and explain it to people that have never been at what I would consider like an elite level of fitness, right? And I didn't, like going back to what we were talking about being an athlete, I didn't learn how to be a good athlete until I was in the Ranger Regiment. And then I realized how important it is for not only the physical aspects of the mission, but once your body is operating at that super high level of fitness, when you dip out of that, you feel off. You feel off mentally and physically. And that's what drives you to try and stay at that point. Like I said, I'm turning 40 this year, and my goal is to be the fittest I've ever been on my 40th birthday. And it makes something that you chase the rest of your life.
Yeah, that I think that's really important, bro, because again, I put my hand up and cutting around here like a fucking world champ by any means. But one of the things is I struggled with fitness the last few years was I was like, what is my goal? Because when I was in the military, I was a physical training instructor. Obviously, I'm not going to, you don't want to be, if you're leading runs, you don't want to be dropping out of them. Yeah. But we used to call, so the vehicle that people would get on if they dropped off, like that was it's got two names. One is the jack wagon, and the not so nice name. The not so nice name is the cunt truck. Yeah. And I used to think that people that got on that, they were a fucking cunt. And like, I used to look at them and think, what are you doing in the infantry? What are you doing in the infantry if you're getting on that truck?
Yep.
Unless your fucking hip has just exploded.
Yeah.
But when I got out, then I went through this phase of I want to be in shape because I want girls. And then I went through this horrible fucking phase in my life where I started liking myself, and I was like, it doesn't matter what shape you're in. Well, let me tell you, young listeners, having a bit of self-hate is a great way to stay in shape.
For sure.
But then, so recently, all jokes aside, I started thinking to myself, and I think this is something that maybe I kind of like any veterans listening to this, I'd like people to think about. We kind of come out of Iraq and Afghanistan thinking that's it now. My service is done. My wars are done. Things have gone a bit fucking nuts the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? Let's just say I think it's fair. There's a chance that something again could happen in the next 15 years. Let's say.
Yep.
I don't want to be the guy who gets called up, and in my first contact, my fucking knees explode on me because I haven't done a squat in 15 years. I'm not being paranoid. I'm just
You're being realistic.
I'm future proofing.
It's so funny you say that, man, because it's something me and my wife talk about all the time. I'm like, I am going to be absolutely devastated if the second American Revolution happens after I'm out of fighting shape. If I'm a 60-year-old man and then it pops off, I'm like, fuck, man, I want to be running through the streets,
Yeah, but dude, this is why I like, and I saw Joe Rogan mentioned you on his thing. I saw that. That was pretty fucking, that must have been pretty wild.
That's crazy, yeah.
But I was thinking, like, I'm really glad that there's people like him on The Rock and stuff around now. And you're like, because I used to think, because I think this is one of the things I thought, wow, I'm not a 26-year-old PTI anymore. You're just destined to be out of shape. Yeah. Because that's the way of the world. That's the way it used to be. People used to go, but now you're like, well, look at these fucking guys at fucking 50. They look amazing. Yeah, and not just look amazing, but they operate amazing.
And if you look at like triathlon or like elite endurance athletics, like the top of the food chain is late 30s, And even in like the two sports that I follow, I like endurance athletes and I like following fighting. Even in the fighting realm, there's guys in their 40s now that are still just beasts, know? And there's a big misconception. And I learned about this through part of college. It's like people think when you get older, your metabolism slows down. And it's like people always say that, well, I'm 40 now, my metabolism slowed down. No, motherfucker, you slowed down. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah, You know what? Okay, here's a story I would like people to remember. I feel really guilty now because I can't remember the guy's name, so I'm gonna put it in the outro because I want to do him justice. But there was a officer who was at the Battle of Drang Valley. He was so that's basically when guys. If you guys have seen We Were Soldiers, it's that battle there, and he was in the towers when the planes hit, and he went up and down the stairs getting people out. He died when the towers collapsed, and I thought, that's who you need to be as a veteran when a disaster happens.
That's right.
He was only able to go up and down those stairs because he'd kept on top of his fitness and, he'd kept himself in warrior shape, basically, and he went out as a warrior. So I'm not saying we're all going to be in a fucking tower when a plane hits, but
you might be.
What if, this is what I always say to people, what if you're at a fucking car wreck and you can't move a piece of debris or something like that off a person and they die in front of you? Yep. What if, you're running for help for something and you're 20 seconds too slow because you sat on your ass? You don't want to have that hanging over you. Plus, Second American Civil War. You want to be able to fire a maneuver.
As a young ranger, there's a honorary battalion, a regimental colonel. His name was Colonel Puckett. And he was long since retired. He fought in the trenches of Korea, bayoneting dudes and as nasty as it gets. And I remember him telling us, and this has stuck with me for 20 years now or whatever it's been. He goes, "Men, the absolute first most important aspect of being battle ready is fitness." Because your tactics and your weapons manipulations and your how you patrol, all that can be learned. But if you don't have an elite level of fitness, you won't be able to hang. And that's why I even touched on that in my first video that went viral. It's like, if the people that think like they're ready for bloodshed in the street, if you're not maintaining a high level of fitness and taking care of yourself and training, you're not a fucking gunfighter. You can't just go out there and make it happen.
Yeah, let's just we'll come back to that, but let's just think about this whole thing about this idea of fitness and kind of being ready. It's like everything we do in the military is repetition, right? Everything is repetition, and we lose that when we get out. Like, you do the repetition of going for runs all the time. You do the repetition of your weapon handling drills. As veterans, I think we can be guilty of when we get out. All of a sudden we think, because one of my big ones is first aid, and I'm guilty of this. Put my hand up to it. When was the last time I drilled my first aid? Let's forget about fitness even. When was the last time I drilled my first aid?
Yep.
I walked past my brother in the garden earlier and he was lying face down. Turns out he was sunbathing. He was doing, the reason it was weird is because he was doing it on sharp stone. He's a bit weird. And I was like, just checking, you are all right, aren't you? But then there's that thing of, well, what if he wasn't? When was the last time I went through my drill? Fucking too long ago. I mean, okay, going back to education, it's an absolute fucking farce that we don't have that stuff taught weekly in schools. As men, it's insane. Yeah, that we don't have that taught. We have all this shit going around right now about washing hands, all that stuff, locking people away, but no one's ever taught people how to stop a fucking bleed. You know what, dude? This is a great time to segue into. I can't contain it anymore.
All right, let's go.
Let's go. So, you're a police officer up in Seattle, right?
Seattle, yep.
Seattle. Just talk us through, dude, talk us through from the very beginning of this whole COVID business.
So, I can tell you, I'm not only a police officer, I'm a gym owner. So, I have a small business as well, right? And it's a jiu-jitsu and CrossFit gym. And so, I was trying to understand this thing from a law enforcement perspective, but also as a small business owner, because nationwide they said all businesses are shut down. And so now sorry mate, to interrupt. What kind of timeline are we looking at here? That was early March. It was like March 13th when I shut my business down. And the funny thing is I actually shut my business down a few days before it was mandated, because initially it's like, oh, what is going on here? Is this going to start killing all our kids? Like, they were making this thing out to be such a danger to society that I told my team, I said, hey, we're going to shut the gym down for about a week to 10 days and kind of figure out what's going on here. And then we'll assess and see how we're going to reinstitute training. And it became, and then, like I said, like a couple days later, the state of Washington mandated all businesses are shut down. And so as a police officer, I'm still considered essential, which who determines what is essential and what isn't? But
People with full-time jobs, mate.
Yeah,
People in offices with full-time fucking jobs.
And so as a police officer, I'm starting to see all of these different patterns of who's essential and who's not. And I can tell you right from the get-go, at least in the state of Washington, liquor stores, essential. Marijuana shops, essential. Vehicle licensing, essential. The lottery, Washington State Lottery, essential. Like government contracted construction, essential. And so you started looking at all the things that the government wanted to keep open versus what they wanted to shut down. And it was all the businesses that put money in their pocket. It's as simple as that.
Well, I go for a step further there as well. It's a sedative. The liquor stores, sedative. Weed stores, sedative. Like, I was doing it myself when lockdown began. I was like, "Fuck!" We were just getting drunk in the house. You know, I mean, I stay with some Marines there, so I mean, don't get me wrong, we get drunk in the house a lot. But usually we go to the gym and then get drunk in the house.
Yeah.
As it was just burpees and pull-ups. But it was like, you know, I was in San Clemente when this happened, so I saw a lot of this because fuck lockdown. I drove across America and took a look because you know what? There was two of us in a car. We kept ourselves to ourselves. And I had people fucking like, how fucking dare you drive across America when this happened? Motherfucker, there's two of us in the car in the middle of the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
Like, shut the fuck up. Like,
and I'm not kicking your door down and walking into your living room.
Yeah.
You know,
But dude, like, I noticed very quickly that I was like, what a surprise. I can get booze. What a surprise. I can get weed, you know?
Exactly.
But I'm like, I'd like to go and get a fucking lift. No, you can't get that. I'm like, right, well, Uber Eats, I can get Amazon. Well, that's essential. Why is me ordering, I don't know, a fucking pink vibrating fucking dildo? How is that essential if I want to get it off Amazon? But I can't go to the beach.
That's right.
Where there's no one on the fucking, like... So, I'll say this for San Clemente, dude. Like, they were, like, the people around there were being very... people were taking the distance, like, seriously. People were staying apart. People weren't, like, generally people weren't lying around on the beach. People were getting exercise and all that kind of stuff. And at first, it took a long time before that place really kind of, like, shut down. But people were being respectful. When it first people started talking about it, when I was going to the gym, the older clients weren't coming in anymore. The younger clients who were in there, everyone's wiping down their stuff. They're giving each other space. Most people, again, caveat, most people are responsible. And if you treat them like adults, and you've seen this in the Special Operations Force, you treat people like adults, they will fucking behave like adults.
Yep. So, yeah, it was weird, man, because it didn't take very long at all to realize, okay, this isn't about our health. This isn't about protecting us. There's there's ulterior motives going on here. And is it a power grab? Are they trying to mess up the election cycle? Like, there's a lot of different theories on what's going on here, but it became clear that it wasn't about American safety. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as I started seeing like all of these, like, just morally and unethical behavior from law enforcement officers as a result to these, what I call like tyrannical orders, it made me think like, okay, since we know that there's not a lot of validity in what the government's telling us, why are law enforcement officers agreeing to be used as their henchmen to enforce all these laws? And the most ironic thing about this is, as a police officer, I have friends all over the country that are cops, right? Literally 100% of them are like, dude, this is the most asinine thing I've ever seen. I would never shut somebody's small business down. I would never arrest somebody for going to the beach. I would never do this. I would never do that. I would never do this. Every single person I talk to says that. But then what do you see? When they're ordered to do it, people go out and they're arresting moms at the park. And they're doing undercover operations to get ladies doing nails out of their house. And just all this asinine ass shit that is not a law enforcement function. Like, I don't know how it works in your country, but in America, laws have to be legislated and they have to be voted on. There's a process to make them an actual legal enforceable law. You can't just have a governor raise his hand and be like, hey, I don't like this. And if you do that, you're going to start being arrested for it. That's not how the judicial system in America works. So like,
Sorry.
no, I was just saying, like, as soon as I started seeing this as a police officer, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, not only is it unethical, but we don't have the legal authority. Like, you can't stop people's in their cars. Americans are free to move wherever they want.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah, and they're stopping people asking for papers. We have no legal authority to do that. And I started seeing more of this and more of this. And there's two sides of this coin. The one side is it's morally and ethically wrong to be doing this to our citizens. But the other side of it is, I think that it's endangering us as officers, because what you're doing is you're turning the public against us. And the media has been turning the public against law enforcement officers for 10 years now. That's been an uphill battle in America. Like, there was a time when I was younger where like police were looked at with respect and integrity. They were like the members of the community that people put on a pedestal. Now everyone thinks police officers are a bunch of power hungry pieces of shit. And I think that that's from both the media and the politicians playing this game and putting us in the middle. And so I thought it was necessary to step up and speak out against it and be like, listen, police officers are people first, and we stand with the people. And so, I mean, and the proof is in the pudding. The message resonated. It's been seen like 100 million times now or something, you know?
Yeah, so like what you're referring to there is a video that you put out. And we'll come back onto that, but there's a few things you said there I found really interesting. And one of the ones is just like, you know, the people are going along with this stuff, and the American police, I don't mean this to be derogatory, is a paramilitary, essentially. Mm-hmm. You've armed to the teeth, like, and if you are a citizen, and again, we've all seen videos of people getting shot who didn't deserve to get shot. So when a cop comes up to you and they've got a weapon, even if you disagree morally with what they're telling you and you want to stick up for yourself, it's fucking hard to do that when someone's armed and you're not.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
Like, and so, you know, that's kind of part of the problem. The other problem is, there's two groups of people. There's people that go along with things without questioning it. There are also some people who are, and we get that in the police force here too. They enjoy the fucking power.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They are enjoying doing what they're doing. But I think one of the biggest things is a lack of empathy. Like when you are in a salaried job, and you know you're not self-employed. Because a lot of people are like, you know, I've got friends who are losing money hand over fist at the moment. And I tell people and they're like, oh, well, so what? They lose some money. No, not so what. They got to lay off 30 staff.
Yeah.
Like my friends who are making the big money and like, they're going to be okay. Because they've got, even if they have to downsize, they're still going to have a house. But what about the 30 fucking people? What about the 5 people they're employing? And as an officer, when you're in an institution where everybody's salaried and everybody's on the government contract, it's very hard for you to understand that. Like, I've heard people talking, just saying like, look, it took me 20 years to build this business. I would rather die than lose everything now. Like that's how serious it is, you know.
And the funny thing is like a lot of officers, just like you said, they're on that salary and they don't want to rock the boat because they can't afford to lose the ability to feed their kids or pay their mortgage. And so they're using that as their like moral reasoning on why they're following orders. But the ironic thing about that is by enforcing these orders, you're depriving other people the ability to pay their mortgage and feed their kids. It's the exact same thing that you're afraid of going through. You're forcing other people to go through now.
And to that point as well, people always say to me, well, what's so bad about getting your money from the government? Well, this is exactly the reason why. If you like, so right now we have a bunch of different businesses all over the country that employ people, and therefore, if the government starts to do something that we really kind of as people disagree with, we can protest, we can hold people to account. If we are all beholden to the government for our food and our money, well, like, okay, let me ask you right now, listeners, do you feel comfortable going up to your boss and saying, hey, I don't like the way you're running things here. We want to do it like this. Because if you're not comfortable doing that, you're definitely not going to be comfortable speaking up to a government that you rely on your money for.
Yeah.
When they have a monopoly on, like, so in the UK, the government has a total monopoly on violence and on arms, which is why I'm very pro Second Amendment in America, because a government like we. Basically, if the government here said everyone get on the boxcars, we're getting on the fucking boxcars.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's happening in the UK, and I'm not saying it will happen, but what I'm saying is it's going to be very hard to stick up with a bread knife to what's going on. So, but when, the government, if they are controlling your income and your food on your plate and the food on your kids' plate, you can't stand up to them.
No.
And I think that's why this idea of like stimulus and, it's okay, I'm getting money from the government. No, that's not okay, because then 3-4 stages down, you're not going to be able to stand up to them.
Yep. And it's funny you say like the boxcar thing, because like, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if you look at the amount of power that the government has grabbed from the American people in a 2-month process, I mean, and I'm not some crazy conspiracy theorist, it's not out of the realm of possibility for them to continue and continually strip us of our liberties. Like the fucking governor of California is talking about shutting people's water off that are out of compliance. If you're out of compliance, we might shut your power and your water off. That's a death sentence for some people.
My friend Joe, we had on the podcast recently, he said one of the most, like, Joe, I love him. He's got a big beard, cavalry lad, like, seen a lot of fucking fighting. And he said one of the most intelligent things I've heard about this entire thing, which is basically like, yeah, it does sound mad, the whole boxcar thing. It does sound mad locking people up for standing up for free speech. He's like, but if you'd have told me in December that I'd get arrested for going to the beach, would you have believed that? And
That's
I thought,
exactly right.
Wow, he's fucking right. Because, like, just look at the phrasing they use. New normal. Telling you that you have to accept it. No, you don't. You don't have to fucking accept new normal.
And they're inundating people with it on the television. Like every commercial is like, stay at home, stay safe. Thanks for doing your part. We need you to not touch other people. It's like, it's a planned thing that they're carrying out. It's becoming
the propaganda machine. I mean, I work with words. It's what I do. I like to think I'm good with fucking words. I am watching geniuses at work with the wordplay that's been going on here.
It's absolutely.
The use of the terms frontline. Frontline. It's a war. All this kind of it's an enemy. Meaning, if you speak up against it, as you have, you become a traitor.
That's right. Yeah.
Because the way that they manipulate these words.
And I'm not looking out for people's health and safety anymore. I don't give a shit about people's safety.
Yeah. You want all people to die.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't have a logical discussion about this anymore. No. It's like if you're not in line with what they're saying, you want everybody to get sick and die.
So coming from, I think it's important to put out. So both you and I have been to some pretty shit parts of the world. We've seen the best parts of humanity and we've seen the worst parts of humanity. And also, I would say that we are both amateur students of history who, we like to have an idea about why things are as they are and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure I'm speaking for you here, so feel free to correct me.
Yeah.
When we're talking about this stuff, we're not saying that it's not a tragedy that anybody dies. But what we're saying is, if we don't arrest the slide and the path that we're going on, far more people will suffer in the near future and in the distant future. It's not about 2020, just 2020. It's about 2021 and beyond. It's about your children.
And the thing is, like, a lot of my videos and when I speak with people publicly, I don't go into the medical aspects of this because guess what? I'm not a fucking doctor. I'm not an epidemiologist. But what I can tell you is the people of America and your country as well, I would like to think that they're smart enough to analyze the data, look at the facts, look at the percentages, and then mitigate what is necessary for them and their family and make educated decisions on how they're comfortable moving forward with their life. And so I would even say, even if this disease was so deadly, like if you catch it, you're going to die. Okay. 100% chance. If you catch it, you're going to die. It is still not up to the government to mandate our safety.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Let people determine what works for them. And guess what, dude? If you're a person that you do believe you're at high risk, you're old and you're obese and you have some kind of respiratory issue, you're probably a good candidate to isolate yourself and take the necessary precautions. And we're not trying to say that anybody shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But the people that have determined that they're capable of continuing their business or opening their restaurant, there's absolutely no way the government has the right to tell you otherwise. But we're seeing it every fucking day.
If I haven't hugged my grandma in 6 months, and you know I can't see that happening in the foreseeable future, that makes me sad.
Yeah.
Should that stop me opening a business? Fuck no. That's fucking ridiculous. And here's the other thing as well. We don't have the right. So there's that 1% or less than 1% of people that will die from COVID, which is a tragedy. And every one of those people matters. But so do the people who are committing suicide. So do the people who will die because of I mean, we are going to go into a depression. It's unavoidable at this stage. You know, we've lost more jobs in America than was gained since the last recession. There will be a depression or at least a recession. When poverty goes up, the death rate goes up.
And crime goes up.
Yeah, crime goes up. And here's the other thing, dude, right? We were talking about liquor stores being open. You can still buy cigarettes. You can get junk food delivered to your door. Why is that stuff okay? We lose far more people to obesity than anything else. We lose thousands and thousands of people to alcohol-related death. Why is that stuff still okay? Why is that stuff okay? So, why is it I can sit on my sofa, I can drink myself to death, and because people say, well, that doesn't affect other people. What if I got kids and I'm buying junk food for my kids?
Yeah, exactly right.
You know? Well, no, so where does it end?
There's absolutely a parallel to be drawn there. And I've talked about that as well. It's like you can kill yourself with cigarettes, with food, with skydiving. You can do all of these reckless things and it's okay. But if you go out and train CrossFit, that's not okay because you might get sick. It's become absolutely asinine.
But they've done a great job in turning things to make people look like the enemy. Because here's the truth. If you exercise regularly, you are in the minority of people to begin with.
Yeah, you are not going to die from it.
So it's been very easy. Yeah, but it's been very easy. So, you are 100% in the minority for COVID. You may die, you probably won't. But, I mean, in percentage-wise of a country, in the UK, less than 25% of people, I think it is, are regular gym goers. So straight away, by picking on that group, you're able to then, they're already a minority. So, you know, it's easy to say that's a selfish thing. I would say taking care of yourself is one of the least selfish things. Here in the UK, they've got this thing, don't burden the NHS. You know what burdens the NHS? Fucking fat cunts. That's what burdens the NHS. People,
Same thing here.
People that smoke, people that drink. I fucking drink. I enjoy, every now and again, I'll have a smoke. I enjoy fast food. I'm not saying I don't. So I'm not saying I'm perfect. But I'm not the one telling people to stay inside.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Now, it's funny, man. Like, there's this park that's down in Seattle that I used to go through when I was patrolling. And I would stop my patrol car and I'd knock out a set of pull-ups because there was a pull-up bar, right? And I drove through a couple of weeks ago and there was a sign like tacked to the wood that said pull-up station closed due to COVID. And then the actual bars were removed from the structure between the posts. The bars were taken down.
Wow.
And I remember thinking like, this is so fucking ironic because if you can do one dead hang pull-up, you're probably in the demographic that is not at risk of dying of 100%. COVID.
And the other thing, dude, as well is that was an essential job, taking those bars out. That was an essential job.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling, dude. Like, none of this stuff stands up to logic, but they haven't made it about logic. They've made it about emotion.
Yep.
So it's very hard. You know, if anyone has ever been out with the boys understands, when you come home and you try and use logic in an argument, it's not going to happen. And that's what's happened here. We've got emotion has become involved. So you can't say, "Hi, there's a reason." So in the UK, we were allowed to go outside. We were allowed by the benevolent government to go out once a day to exercise. Right. The fucking idea of only being allowed outside once a day is ridiculous to begin with. But if you're taking proper precautions and you're not going around licking fucking people's hands and stuff, The idea that you should only be out once a day is ridiculous anyway. But what they managed to do there was, right, well, there's only a small percentage of the country that exercise regularly. There's even a smaller percent that exercise once more a day. We can now demonize this group. Now, I'm going to go to an extreme example here, but sometimes people need hitting with a fucking extreme example to get the point across. Look back through history. Every time there's been a crisis, every time there's been a power grab, there is always a group of people who are demonized to consolidate opinion against while the government or singular people move around to grab power, right?
Yep.
So I'll use an example that everyone will know. And I'm not talking about the fact that, I'm not saying that everyone that does CrossFit is going to get put on a boxcar and sent to some kind of concentration camp, although I'd be all right with that because I don't like CrossFit. But look at Hitler's Germany. Jews were doing nothing fucking wrong. But they needed a scapegoat group, and they were the scapegoat group. And it was easy to point at them and say, hey, you know why you haven't got a job? Jews. You know why we're weaker as a country? Jews. You know this? Jews. You know this bad reason? Jews. And they put all the reasons on there, and people began to hate the Jews. They've been getting along fucking fine at first. I never used to fall out with people that didn't go to the gym. Now all of a sudden I'm a selfish fucking prick.
That's right, dude.
And like, the Jewish thing didn't happen overnight. It was years. And I could honestly see a situation where people start smashing gym windows and start burning gyms that are opening and stuff like that. You can see how it would happen. Now, and I'm not saying that's happening now before anyone is getting on your phone now, but it's the same principle. Because nothing is new in human history. Nothing. It's the same principle. You take a group of people, you make them a fucking scapegoat, and then you get everyone else angry, and while they're angry, you use that anger to get what you want. It's it's rule 101.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so much easier for them to move forward with their agenda if they're pitting groups of people against each other.
Yeah.
And people eat it up. Yep, people just eat it up, hook, line, and sinker, man. It's crazy.
Here's the other thing as well I want to mention to people. One of the things I'd like to address is the idea of, I'm doing nothing wrong, I have nothing to worry about. If you believe that, I would like to slap you through the radio right now.
That's right.
Because that does not matter. Now, both Greg and I, we have been to countries where thousands upon thousands of people who are doing nothing wrong are dead right now. Some of them have had their fucking skulls drilled out, literally drilled out. Some of them have had their kids raped in front of them before they were killed. Do you think all those people were doing something wrong before that happened? Do you want to talk a bit about that, mate? Because this is one of the things that the idea that if you just mind your own business, life will not fuck you is one of the things that I just want to punch people in the face about, honestly. Not that I'm a violent
Or
person.
something that people will even expound on that's even worse. They'll be like, if you don't have anything to hide, why do you care if the government's looking into you? It's the same mindset. And it's like, well, it's because they don't have the fucking right to be looking into me. Because I don't know if you've been, like, they're talking about doing this track and trace stuff and following people's phones, seeing where you're at. Like, no, you don't get to fucking do all that stuff, but we'll see.
Because I keep saying to people, dude, it's not guilty until proven innocent. That's not the way things are supposed to work. And I always point to people, there are a lot of innocent people that have gone to death row and been killed and then later exonerated. Yeah. So you might be doing nothing wrong. But if your phone says you were in a certain place at a certain time, you might end up taking the fucking rap for something that you never did.
Yeah,
that'll happen. It will 100% happen. There's no getting away from it.
No, it's madness, man. It's crazy.
And so let's talk about your videos then, dude, specifically. Let's kind of hone in on those. What was the final? Was there a final moment where you saw something and you were like, "Fuck this, man! I got to talk to people about this."
Yeah. So again, there's already a big divide between public trust and law enforcement. And that's over 10 years of, the minority of officers doing things like bad shoots or treating people like shit. And I continuously tell people, the majority of officers are good people.
100%.
And that's what I've seen in my own personal experience as an officer. But all it takes is a minority to really shift the tides. Mm-hmm. And so I started seeing more and more of this with, the surfer that got arrested, like 3 boats circling this dude and hauling him away in cuffs. A guy got arrested for playing catch with his daughter in the park. the women that got their nail salon raided, and just on and on and on. And every time I'd see this, I'm like, this is not what we're allowed to do as officers. We're not allowed to do this to people.
So you weren't just morally opposed. You were like, legally, we can't
legally,
even do this.
Yeah, morally and legally.
Yep.
And so, I mean, the U.S. Constitution is supposed to be like the fundamental document that law enforcement is based off of. And things can be added to it, but things can't be taken away. And so it's a pretty clear understanding. If this person wants to go to church, unless they're committing a crime, I can't deprive them from that right. It's very black and white.
And let's talk about why that is as well. Why are those, like, why is that constitution laid out? What is the, for British listeners now, what is the kind of, what's the logic? What's the, when they drew up the document, what was the, like the situation and the kind of the mission of the Constitution?
The whole thing was to get out from underneath Imperial Britain and not be ruled by a king, and let every individual as a man have the right of pursuit of happiness and liberty. And like, they wrote up all of these amendments to ensure, because it's history proves it. If one person has too much power, things go to hell.
Yep.
And people start becoming power hungry and depriving others. And so the whole purpose of that document was to make sure that there was checks and balances within the government, and that individual American citizens could not be deprived of these fundamental rights that the founding father believes allow us to live and pursue our own peace and our own happiness.
Yeah, I think I want to make a point here for British people as well, because we seem to have a feeling in Europe that our liberty derives from government, which is total bollocks. Your liberty derives from being a human being.
That's right.
You don't, like, government doesn't have the right to then say, hey, we're feeling like giving you some liberty, here's some liberty. No, you are born with the entitlement to liberty. Government is just a function of, like, basically, it should be the very bare minimum to help us civilly live our lives, the bare minimum. But this idea that you rely on government for liberty is absolutely ridiculous. As a human being, you have the right to that. So in the the Constitution is those are your inalienable rights.
And so the last thing I saw was a protest in, I believe it was Sacramento. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you saw it. There was a Marine Corps veteran standing on top of a vehicle holding a bullhorn.
Right. And
he was talking to the California Highway Patrol that were in riot gear. And it's funny, I actually have been in contact with that guy. We're going to do some stuff. His name's Cordy Williams. But as he was talking in a very like controlled and respectable manner, talking about being a veteran, talking about their rights. And the way that the cops were treating people, it was just hurting my heart, like pushing people back, and they had their nightsticks out and stuff. And it's like, it became crystal clear to me at that moment that the government is using this as a tool to pit law enforcement and the public against each other. And they're making that become a focal point. Meanwhile, they're passing all this legislation and they're grabbing all this power. And now we're stuck focused on the people versus law enforcement. And that is what it compelled me to make the video. Right there on the spot, I stopped my patrol car and I just held my phone out. And I talked about how not only do we not have the right to do this to our citizens, that we don't have the legal authority, but we need to be looking at this whole situation as us in this together. Mm-hmm. We're on the same team as the citizens. Like, just because a couple guys in suits in some Capitol building are making all of these illegal and immoral decisions, like, the patrol level officer doesn't have to enforce that. You can say no.
The problem is it comes down to who signs the check.
That's right.
So
that's exactly right.
So in Rome, in Rome, they used to have Roman legion commanders would pay their own troops. And one of the problems with that was every few years there'd be a fucking civil war because the troops would be loyal not to Rome, they would be loyal to the commander. Uh-huh. And we're seeing that with governors now.
It's insane.
Yeah, and we're seeing exactly the same thing. Like I keep saying to people, I'm not telling you anything. I'm not sitting here saying I'm a fucking genius. I've just read history. I've read history and I've seen a pattern. That's all this is. This is like somebody that works in this fucking stock market and you can see patterns. Look at history. Look at what happened in Rome over hundreds of years of the Roman Empire. There's a reason that they stopped letting commanders control the purse strings to the legions, because it just meant that this stuff happened all the time. And we're doing it right now. By allowing governors and the control that they have, they are now acting the same way as Roman legion commanders used to. It's all there to be seen. One of the things as well is, so I actually have, and I'm not putting tinfoil hat on. Again, this is something that I'm just saying, oh, here we go again from history. This looks like what's going to happen. I think that people are, certain governors, I've said it now, Democratic governors. Well, I use that quote as well. The fact that they're called Democratic governors is an absolute fucking mockery of the word, because they are, again, it's the power of words. They're autocrats. They're autocrats. They are trying to push people into violence. Yes. Because once you push people into violence, you can then come down with even more draconian laws.
That's right.
I'll go on the record as saying I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. That being said, I'm not a fan in undermining a presidential election year, which is what, like, if you look at where these governors are, it's quite clear to me that they're trying to incite violence to really kind of like, so because what people tend to do then is they look at the man on the top and go, well,
that's his fault.
That's his fault. And that to me, like that, again, I'm not coming up with this. One of the things I want to tell British listeners, because right now some British listeners are going, oh, Gez has got his fucking tinfoil hat on again. I want you guys to just think about fucking Kent State University, where people stood up against the draft. There was a war going on the other side of the world. So not even this stuff going on their own doorstep. On the other side of the world, people were saying, hey, we don't have a draft anymore. And American troops shot dead.
Yeah. They killed 4 people.
College people. So you guys right now are going, oh, guys, fucking tinfoil hat on. This happened within your young people listening, this happened within your parents' lifetime.
That's right.
American troops killing Americans during a protest.
And that was a big motivating factor for my video, because I saw the writing on the wall, and it's like, it's these tyrannical governors that are putting out all these executive orders, but who's going to bear the brunt of that is the patrol level officer, because he's the face of the government on the street. And American citizens can only be pushed so far before they're like, you know what? I am going to open my fucking business. And if you try and stop me, then we're going to have a problem. And I'm actually absolutely shocked that we haven't seen that yet. And I'm not people are like, there's some haters like, you're inciting violence. It's like, no. I'm doing the opposite. I'm trying to stop it, man. Because as soon as you deprive people of their ability to feed their kids, dude, and it's like you said earlier, we've been to parts of the world where we've seen people that have been deprived of everything. And what happens? They resort to savagery.
Yeah. And also let's go into that. When we're in Iraq, how do you go about creating peace and harmony in an area where there's a lot of tension and violence? It's hearts and minds. Yep. You try and get people to open their businesses. You treat people respectfully. You don't go on patrol with your weapon up in the fucking aim. You go on patrol with your weapon down like that. You engage people. You have eye contact. You take off your sunglasses. All the things we're not seeing from the American law enforcement.
No, that's right, man.
So I can't begin to tell you, because I know a lot of people listening as well, especially in the UK, have never had somebody with a weapon approach them. It is not a fun thing to have somebody, if you are unarmed, to have somebody that's armed come and talk to you. If you've ever been bullied in school, which, I got picked on a bit, it's a very similar kind of feeling. You think, I'm pretty much fucked here if this person wants to do anything to me. And that attacks your ego. Go ahead, man.
Well, you bring up a very interesting point, and it's something that's bothered me about being an officer for years, way before any of this COVID stuff, is that when I'm in civilian clothes and I'm at the store or I'm at my gym, like, I'm a friendly person. I engage people. I have conversation with people easily. Like, I make friends easily. But the second I put on that uniform and put on my duty weapon, people are standoffish. People don't want to talk to me. I'll be walking down the street, and it's not like I'm scowling, acting like a dick, but it's like the perception of American law enforcement it's very apparent when you're on the inside of the uniform looking out. People are distrustful of you, and people don't want to engage you. And that's bothered me since I got into the profession, because it's like, dude, they don't even give me a chance to interact with them as a man and as a human. There's already that block set up, and this has made it 1,000 times worse.
And as a civilian, I've actually seen, so like I can see how officers then have their shields put up, because when I've been in that position and I've been like, hey, how's it going? I'll get a stare back.
Yeah.
And it's probably not because he's an asshole, but he's so used to not like having this shield up, because people usually look at him like fucking pig. That I'll be like, hey, how's it going? And they'll just like look at you, and then I'm like, fucking asshole. Do you know what I mean? And but then it builds that tension, and
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I often refer to my uniform as a costume, because it's like as soon as I put on this costume, everybody treats me like a different person, even though I'm the same person on the inside. It's a weird dichotomy.
Well, you know what, dude? That's a great point, because that, like, you're talking about a costume there. One of the things you talked about in your video, sorry, I've got a burp, it's halfway up, is the veneer, like this veneer of this, like, law and order exists for as long as people decide it exists.
Exactly right.
Like,
exactly
that's
right.
it. Like, there are not enough officers.
You have a piece of tin on your chest that says police officer, and then you have a gun on your hip, depending on what model, that might have 15 rounds in it. Okay. You're not a warfighter. That power can be stripped from you in the drop of a fucking hat. And that's what I talked to my coworkers about. And again, this isn't tinfoil hat stuff, but if you get 15 veterans that are absolutely fed up with the current state, and they get their AR-15s and their body armor on, they can wreak havoc in your city. And you as a cop, unless you're mentally and physically prepared for combat, good luck going up against those guys. And the thing that sucks about it is the guys that are being pushed to do something like that are probably guys that we would be friends with in any other circumstance.
Yeah. Well, because they're like people that believe in the Constitution. So
Exactly.
here's the thing. And again, neither of us are inciting violence, right? We're trying to prevent the opposite. But as I've heard you talk about wargaming. We're playing through, where does this go? So like if we were planning a mission, we'd be like, right, where does this go? If this keeps happening, what's going to happen? So for instance, if I'm saying, hey, we're going to go out on patrol, and first Iraqi I see, I'm going to punch him in the fucking face. You know where that's going to wargame into? A fucking big fucking contact, right?
Yep.
So we're just wargaming this, and like so I'm looking at one hand I got history, on the other I've got the wargaming, and it's like, well, this history tells me that if we keep going down this, it ends in one way and one way only, fucking violence. Now, what people need to understand is, and again, we saw this in Iraq, saw it in Afghanistan, you see it in any insurgency you ever want to look at. When we were in Basra, there's millions of people in Basra. They weren't all against us. It was a few thousand people.
Mm-hmm.
A few thousand people out of a few million kicked us with our fucking Challenger main battle tanks, our Warriors, our Apaches, our fast jets. We had to leave the city.
Yeah.
We were trained to fight in urban warfare. You're fucking Dunkin' Donuts, motherfucker. Like, I'm sorry, you with a Glock 17 or whatever you guys use. It's not gonna hack it. So it's in everybody's interest to de-escalate from this and take a step back and say, what are we doing? Because, like, I don't want anybody to get hurt.
Also, ask yourself who's the real enemy here, because it's not law enforcement versus the people. That's just what's being pitted against we're being pitted against each other. You know,
well, again, dude. It's the smoke and mirrors. It's making it law enforcement versus the people, and the people who are calling the shots on this. We're not talking Illuminati fucking bollocks here. And you know what? I hate the way that we have to keep justifying saying we're not wearing tin hats, we're not wearing Illuminati, because it's like but the fact is, it has been like they've done a very good job in saying that anyone that's countering. Oh, if you're countering the narrative, you're anti-science. The science tells me there's a less than 1% mortality rate. But like that's what the science fucking speaks. The science says to me that if I'm fit, I'm going to survive. That's what the science says.
We do have to reiterate that we're not wearing foil hats, because my inbox has been plugged full of people. Oh, you're just a government agent, and you're trying to take away from the credibility of this, and you're a deep cover that, and like all this crazy shit. And it's like, no, you're thinking too hard. You're giving the government too much credit. Like, I'm just a guy that's fed up with a situation. That's it.
Dude, fantastic point. Okay, one of the things I keep telling people, the reason we have rights and the reason we have things like the Constitution in like Western countries is because government is people, and people are flawed. So you might have, so we could even have a situation right now where everyone is making these decisions. I don't believe this is the case, by the way. I think some of these people are just power hungry. But let's just say everyone was acting in the best interest. But them stripping away laws, etc., stripping away rights and bringing in new laws, the next person comes in, he might not be so nice. And he can then use those for,
Exactly.
so for instance, you know, they like the way that the Patriot Act is being misused, you know,
Yep.
like, so again, if you guys look at the Patriot Act, there's evidence right in front of your face. But, you know, people are flawed. I'm not saying if I was a governor, I'd be behaving any better. I might be a total twat. But like, you know, like who knows? I was a fucking horrible lance corporal, so I might be a horrible governor.
Yeah.
But, you know, everyone fucking filling sandbags. But like,
well, again, that goes back to why the structure of our government has its checks and balances, because they understood people are flawed, and they understood if the wrong person gets in the wrong position, he might become a power hungry cocksucker.
Yeah.
You know?
And we are like, and here's the thing as well, dude. I would always, and I have the same opinion in my work. I would rather overwork, and then like, if I'm writing a book, I'd rather write 120,000 words and then cut back. On this stuff, I would much rather be more alarmist than fucking sleep on it. Because if you and I are wrong about this stuff, I'm sure we'd both be very happy to be proved wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
We'd be very happy to be proved wrong. But if we're proved right, it's gonna be bodies, and it's gonna be bodies in the street, and they're not gonna be. Guess who's not gonna be dead? It's not gonna be a governor. It's gonna be someone in your neighborhood. It's gonna be the cop that you went to school with.
Now it's funny you bring up the you hope that we're wrong thing, because I feel like guys like us have the humility. Like, if this blows over and the science comes out and it's proven that like the route that we went ended up being the best route, like I have the humility to step back and be like, hey, luckily it didn't go like this, and I'm glad that I was wrong. But I actually think that is one of the big fundamental flaws in the government that you're seeing right now, is that they had this knee-jerk reaction nationwide, and they put so much resources and so much of their like belief as a leader on this certain path, that now that the science is showing otherwise, they don't have the humility to be like, hey guys, we made some bad calls, and we're going to take a couple steps back, and we're going to reanalyze how we're moving forward. Politicians can't do that anymore.
And it's not just that, dude. It's about, even if this, like, whatever the statistics say, it's about undermining each other. And we were saying before we went on camera that one of the problems we have, so in Iraq, Afghanistan, the reason we're still fucking in these places is because people keep changing policy all the time because of election cycles.
Yep.
And that's kind of what we're doing now. And it's not just a presidential election cycle. People would do what's best. Like, it's stopped being about what's best for Britain or what's best for America, and it's what's best for this party. You know, like, but dude, we've got a little bit of time left, and I want to go out on a note because, you know, even though we both feel that we're heading towards imminent insurgency where everyone's going to die, we both had a smile on our face today. So clearly we've got some mental robustness going on. Talk us through the kind of things you do to keep a smile on a face, and just, you know, just generally keep yourself in a good mental place, because it is Mental Health Awareness. Well, by the time this goes out next week, it'll finish. But fuck it, every week's Mental Health Awareness Week.
No, and I know that everybody that knows me is getting sick of hearing about this, but my biggest thing is jiu-jitsu, man. It's jiu-jitsu.
Oh, like, man, you should be on Jocko Podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a black belt, and I've been a black belt since 2015. I own my own academy, and it's something that I bought off on early. And it's not just like, I want to be tough and I want to be able to beat people up. Like, the self-defense aspect of jiu-jitsu is like 1%. Like, yes, it's nice to believe that I have the capability to physically defend myself and my family. That's a byproduct of becoming proficient at jiu-jitsu. But the other side of it is you get the camaraderie with your team. You face adversity constantly. And you're put in positions where you're mentally challenged, but then you have to use your body to come up with solutions and advance position and ultimately win the match, right? So that's what people always say. It's like playing chess with your body. It's not just two knuckleheads like grabbing a hold of each other and squeezing. It's very methodical and thought out. And what you find is you go train real hard for an hour and a half. The stresses of the day are erased. You get a mental reset, and you walk out of the gym 100% of the time, unless you get injured,
Yeah.
But yeah, aside from an
You
injury,
stretch it out.
yeah, you walk out of the gym in a better mental space than you walked into the gym. And I've had days where like I'm driving home from work and I call my wife and she can just tell like, hey, go to your gym, go train before you come home, because she knows that puts me in a better mental space.
Yeah,
And
it's very hard to find anything that like wipes out your mind, but like combat sports are great for it because if you're not concentrating, you're gonna get fucking
exactly.
you're gonna get beat up. Like, because one of the benefits I found from like training, because I'm training in the garden at the moment and I don't get signal out there. It's meant my training's been a lot better because there's no phone distraction.
Uh-huh.
And because I'm fucking human. I want to look, if I'm in the gym with my phone and because I play music from it, I'm probably going to go and look at some asses on Instagram and
Yeah,
get
of
my
course.
testosterone up.
Yeah, it's an addiction.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. It's an addiction. But when you're on the mats, it's taken away from you, isn't it? I think, I don't think it's a coincidence that whichever, be it Rogan, Jocko, or a half a dozen other million podcasts that people say how great jiu-jitsu is.
Yeah. I think fighting is a primal desire, and it's something that, like, even though it's a friend of yours and it's someone you know personally, when you're fighting that person, like, there's a lot of primal things firing in your body, and it's something that doesn't get touched very often in modern society. And so I used to do the full contact stuff, the MMA, and have like crazy sessions with friends and just beat the shit out of each other. And that's when I was younger. I've walked away from that because I want my brain to work when I'm older. And so jujitsu has allowed me to continue to have that aspect of combat in my life without risking the health aspects of it.
And bro, people want combat. That's why people get sucked into fucking comment wars.
Yeah,
I guarantee you they're not having a comment war if they've just gone and fucking rolled for an hour.
That's 100% right.
It's not happening.
It's funny you say that too, because I literally went from, I had like 1,000 friends on Instagram to like 70,000 now. And I see people every day trying to pull me into that. And it's like, I have no
interest.
I
bought stock in your Instagram when I first saw the video. Because I went back on, I was like, whoa. I said, like, where's his ass pics? He's got like up real fast. Oh, mate. That's a great place to leave it, mate. Thanks so much for coming on today. Do you want to tell people where they can find you online?
So, yeah, I mean, mainly my main platform is Instagram, and that's Granderson33. And for all you weirdos out there thinking that my 33 is some underground Masonic symbol, hey, no, dummy. I was 33 years old when I signed up for that account.
Dude, my granddad was a Mason. I wish he'd got me into the thing.
Hey, be careful. You're going to have the whole internet coming after you now.
Dude, I'm already shadow banned. I don't know if you've been shadow banned yet. I've already been shadow banned and stuff. Now I'm trying to transition off Instagram. No one watches no one sees my stuff on there anymore. I've been banned, basically.
Man, that's ridiculous.
I'm behind the shadow. I'm keeping it just because I got the blue check, so it impresses chicks. That's the only reason I have it now. Mate, thanks for today. Go on, keep going.
I was going to say, Instagram is my main social media platform. And then outside of that, if you're anywhere local to the Seattle area, my gym's Electric Jiu-Jitsu. And come train, man. It'd be awesome.
Bro, I'll come for a roll next time I'm up. And by roll, I mean I'll lie there like a fucking fish because I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on. But I've got my brother's in lockdown with me at the moment. He's come up from London and he rolls. So we're going to start. Yeah, well, now we're out of I've been in quarantine, but now we're out. We're going to start doing a little bit in the garden. So I look forward to it, man, because I've just heard so much good stuff about it. But good, for anybody listening, jiu-jitsu or not, get yourself some fucking exercise. Because it's the key to anything. You can just do one thing in the day, get exercise, and a lot of stuff will fall into place. But mate, thanks so much for coming on, man. I'd love to do this again sometime, mate. This is being fun. All right, bro. Right, well, go.
I was just say life's been a whirlwind, but once it dies down, hit me up, man. I'd love to come back.
Absolutely, mate. Right, we'll cut away here, and I'll come back with the outro. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I really enjoyed having Greg on as a guest. Hope we can do another one sometime. I think he's got a lot of balls doing what he's doing, standing up for what he believes is right, and I think there's a lesson there for all of us. Go follow him on social media. If you want to follow me, it's at GRJBooks or at Veteran State of Mind. And if you could support Brothers in Arms by pre-ordering it, then I would really appreciate it. And if you could support the other veteran-owned and operated companies that support this podcast, then we'd appreciate that too. Everything is linked up in the show notes. Thank you so much, guys. Please respect each other. Please talk to each other. Please love each other, because we're not at war now. And let's keep it that way. Cheers. Goodbye.
Yeah. Listen. Shout out Teaser. You told me not to worry, and you wouldn't break my heart. You told me you were sorry, yeah, my whole world fell apart. You said it's not my fault, and yeah, I've never done you wrong. I'm grinding to a halt, now I can see you're moving on. I promised I'd get better, and I told you things would change. You keep me to the gutter, yeah, I'll never be the same. I've gotta let you go, now live your life and spread your wings. And yeah, you put on quite a show, and pulled the puppet strings. And are you sure that you don't want me? Remember all the pain, or maybe you should thank me. It's your loss and my gain. I'm leaving now forever, I won't hang my head in shame. But yeah, you've taken me for granted, and you should feel ashamed. You sold a dream to all of us, a dream that we'd all die for, a reason for us all to live and something we could fight for. I might just help a man up to his feet or hold a newborn, but no matter what I do, my hands remembering my rifle, yeah.
Life's hard, I know that, still wouldn't change shit. I wouldn't go back, yeah, I wouldn't go back. Feelings I hold back, memories fade, yeah, they go fast, yeah, they go fast. Good times to come and go, survive the highs and lows. Just take it step by step, I guess, yeah, I suppose. Good times to come and go, survive the highs and lows. Just take it step by step, I guess, yeah, I suppose.